आज का जो डिस्कशन है बहुत एक्साइटिंग होने वाला है नमन आई डोंट थिंक दैट वीव सीन सच अ क्रॉनिकल इन सच अ लॉन्ग 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 टाइम और म्यूजिक का क्रॉनिकल आई मीन पीपल हैव डन म्यूजिक डॉक्यूमेंट्रीज बिफोर बट व्हाई दिस वन इज सो important is because it raises so many important questions and we've seen the growth of Bombay gully rap hip hop so remarkably in the past 2-3 years that it needed a chronicle such as this and what has happened in the past 2-3 years is that the scattered communities that you saw in different parts of Bombay are now hailed as a movement. And that is the reason why we need to look into that movement and see where all these intersections of class, gender, and many other things are taking place. So, usi ke liye hum log hain. I'm going to grill all of you guys, and it's my great pleasure to be doing that today. So, before we start the discussion, Naman, sabse pehle I want to ask you, what compelled you to tell this story in the first place?
Okay, I guess to put it simply, I was like, if there's one documentary I want to push out as the first documentary on Vice, and because I used to be a full-time music writer in what seems like another lifetime, when we had lots of music journalism platforms in India, now there's, I feel, very few. I was like, if there's a subject that I have to approach to make a long-form documentary for Vice, it's got to be on music. And then over the last few years, one of the genres that has excited me and compelled me to get into, even though I wasn't, say, into it as much 7-8 years ago in my teenage years, it was hip-hop. And a friend of mine had actually signed on Nazi a few years ago to OML, and I had an old colleague had pitched a photo essay to me called Getting High with Dopeadelicz many years ago, which we eventually didn't end up doing, but he did write an article about it. So just being sort of on the fringes of it, on the fringe of a fringe, sort of seemed as Vice-like as it could get. So it was an obvious pitch, and I guess from there on it became a fairly, I want to say smooth process, but it wasn't that smooth. Yeah.
All right, so being on the fringe of a fringe, I think, is a great way to describe it. Talking about that, Bhanuj, my first question, of course, is directed to you. There's an overarching class angle to, gully rap or Bombay hip hop. When we speak of Bombay hip hop, we also talk about where it's born from, right? It's born among people who are considered to be on the fringes of society in terms of socio-political, aspect. Do you think that's become a sort of a stamp, an identifying stamp, a USP of Bombay rap, gully rap? And while it's that, supposedly, is it also kind of breaking class barriers? Do you think that?
I mean, to a certain extent, definitely, because you can hear Nazi Afat a few years ago. You could hear Afat in the club, but I was also like, I remember once coming home. I live in Andheri East. Coming home at 1:30 a.m. I'm walking to my gate, and there's this kid in a school uniform rapping along to Afat on his phone. So, I mean, in that sense, yeah, there is this whole class, in terms of independent music in India that has kind of come from the West. You look at rock, you look at electronica, it hasn't gone beyond a certain small elite. Right. Us. Right. Most of us here. But hip-hop not only has gone beyond, but the fact is, like, we don't have ownership. We're here sitting here and we're all discussing hip-hop, but we're behind. For once, we're not the people that, as the tastemakers, as the upper class sort of gatekeepers of independent culture. We're playing catch-up. We're trying to figure out what's going on in this culture. This culture belongs to people who are coming from, not all from working class backgrounds. I feel like there's some sort of essentialism that's happened that gully rap means working class and you have to be working class, and I disagree. But what it does do in terms of class is that it gives, like, these are people who are coming from different perspectives that are not popularly shown in popular culture in mainstream media, not since the late 80s, early 90s anyway, because like suddenly everybody is in Switzerland. And not only are they being represented, but they're the ones doing it. They're the ones in charge. They're the ones deciding the narrative. They're the ones who are producing the music. I think that's very fascinating. But we need to be slightly careful because there is a certain sort of poverty porn and like certain sort of gully rap is only about poverty, essentialism that's coming through in a lot of writing and a lot of ways we talk about it. And I think we should be very wary of that.
All right. Karan, you represent the artist community, people who are creating, who are the tastemakers, where it is coming from. In your community, कैसा है? गली रैप लेबल को जब लोग देखते हैं तो उससे थोड़ा सा मतलब वेरी हो जाते हैं कि गली रैप मतलब हमारा तो यही है, this is what we do. तो गली रैप पे क्या मतलब फीलिंग्स है, मिसगिविंग्स हैं या फिर माइलस्टोन है बहुत बड़ा कि लेबल तो अब मिल गया है तो अच्छी बात है, कैसा भी है लेबल है, या फिर लोग थोड़ा सा
mixed feeling hai. Because not everyone would accept that term as a gully rap, because everyone has started as their genre, and hip hop as in if they want to do something as a conscious rap, or if they want to do something else which is not conscious, or if it is not you can say technical rap, at that point of time people would say yes, because they come from the same place, and it has been determined with different things, if it is said gully rap, and gully rap, what all things comes in gully rap, so there is no classification in it. So I would say it's a mixed feeling of people. Some of the peoples, they do like it, but few people, they hate it.
Absolutely, and we saw that in the documentary. Naman, how was your experience?
So I'll give you an overarching premise of how we actually wanted to approach the documentary first up. Was having followed a lot, at least the music of a few artists over the last 5 to 7 years, Nazi, Dopeadelicz, Divine, so they see a few of the people. I was like, okay, this is great. There's music happening. And I remember having discussions with fellow writers and people invested in the scene that this is great. And it kind of made us feel, and it's a conversation Bhanuj and I had on camera as well, that does it make us feel cool that, hey, we know these guys, we're not writing about them? Or is it the other way around? Like, are we providing them a platform by writing about it? And musically, sure, at least we'd like to be a little harsh sometimes in terms of the criticism and judgment. And sometimes it was not reaching a certain sort of expectation that you had. So when we were looking at approaching the film, I had just discovered Tatpatri Talkie's music video, and I was like, if a spoof of something exists, that means the scene has reached a particular place that a spoof can exist. And I wanted to enter the film with that aspect, actually, which in itself was questioning the identity of gully rap. And there was a whole segment in the film that was sized down in this cut, but where we explored what is the identity of gully rap, what identifies as gully rap, what is it, a certain terminology, or certain words that you use that forms gully rap, or is it just a safe term that becomes a blanket term for sort of rap that's coming from the streets in Bombay. So it was very interesting to, in fact, like I was discussing with you before, I feel like I'm left with more questions after making the film than I had before, which is, I guess, always a good thing, which hopefully means there could be a sequel.
Amen to that. So, when we speak about mainstream success, a lot of us wonder, what does mainstream success actually mean? Vis-a-vis hip-hop, does it mean you get affiliated to a label? Does it mean that you have a brand that sponsors your music videos? Does it mean that now you have people giving you freebies and you can wear and sport those freebies? What does exactly mainstream success mean? I still can't make sense of it. And does mainstream success translate into real value in terms of, you getting more gigs? How's the scene there? Bhanuj, you can probably help us kind of identify what does mainstream success, according to you, would mean for this small indie scene, and then, of course, Karan.
I mean, if you're looking at hip-hop, mainstream success means mainstream. Unfortunately, right now, that means Bollywood, but it doesn't need to mean Bollywood. And I think with Savan, with OTT streaming platforms, hip-hop, I think, has a real opportunity to create a non-film musical mainstream, like a pop culture mainstream that indie pop could have been. I think hip-hop is unique in that opportunity because Indian rock is never going to get there. Indian electronica, maybe, but it's just such a amorphous, diverse sort of scene that is going to get, it has already gotten sort of amalgamated. Now, EDM is Bollywood music. Like a certain type of EDM is Bollywood music. Hip-hop has the identity, it has the reach. Because of the fact that it's multilingual, it has the ability to cut across a lot of lines. And I think if you're a young rap star, if you're a young rapper or a producer or even a b-boy, and your aim should be maybe getting into Bollywood to get visibility, to get money, but your eventual aim should always be, how do I make this work without needing Bollywood? How do I make this into my own industry? Because Bollywood will move on. It'll move on in 3 years, it'll find a new trend and it'll go there.
Exactly, I would agree with Anuj's point, because mainstream success even if it is Bollywood or any other industry, for example, that would not, fulfill all the ambitions what an hip hop artist has, because it, to an extent, if he's going to a Bollywood, if he's gonna act, or he's gonna sing, or he's gonna rap in a Bollywood movie, that is just for an instance. It's just gonna happen at that particular point of time, 6 months, and then it is done and dusted. After that, what's gonna happen with that artist? So important is how do we take hip hop further? Mainstream is already there. Bollywood is already there, but where is hip hop? So the main intention is about getting hip hop into the map. So we'll have to work towards it, because if different streaming apps for different kind of like Savan you can say, or Spotify, if these guys take one step ahead and and they can say like yes, we can help you on this, because no one knows about this. If there is a new artist, okay, if there is a new rapper who is coming, he just know that he can make a song and he can put it up on YouTube, but that cannot take him to mainstream. Everyone is not lucky as Nazi. So that's what I would like to say, because mainstream success and the success which hip hop wants, they are two different things. It can help, but then it cannot work together, I would say.
Right, but do you see this sort of aspiration, this sort of foresight among the community? Like, do they look beyond that sort of first stamp of approval from Bollywood? Is that there, Karan and Naman later?
Now, it's a skeptical question, I would say, because Bollywood would try to, get the things what we have, because ultimately it is, they want to show their product as good. Now, when we have to show, like, as an hip hop artist or as an hip hop crew, that remains like that only because, they're already shown something else. And when we show this is real hip hop, they get confused, like, is this real or what they have shown is real? So it is like, it is two-way. It's a two-way thing wherein, we have been manipulated. So.
What a brilliant point there,
Yeah,
right?
so-
The reality and the debate of it. Yes,
Yeah,
Naman.
so adding to that, actually, but the other aspect to this point was that while making the film and just talking to, well, people who are a part of, say, Gully Boy, which is, so to say, going to now become, I guess, mass India's understanding of hip-hop. We're 6 months away from that. What I found very interesting was that a lot of members of the hip-hop community don't look at it as necessarily a bad thing.
Correct.
Right? Because they're like, okay, we've always sought some kind of validation or some kind of reach, and even the awareness amongst them exists that, yeah, it's going to be a Bollywood film, but we don't care because our original music is you. It's not Shankar Ehsaan Loy or Pritam making a hip-hop song. It's them making the hip-hop music. So to have that awareness amongst them, saying that our music is going to push forward is, I guess, very important, which I feel the, so to say, rock scene or alt scene absolutely misses out on. Because they're like, oh my God, they're co-opting it, this guitar riff sucks, oh my God, this is not how a band plays. Right. It's fine. And they don't need that validation. But the hip-hop community, the awareness was so fascinating to just sort of see amongst them, I guess, but it's a two-sided coin.
Absolutely, and I think one of the more interesting, fascinating points that was discussed in the documentary was about how artists and hip hop rappers are focusing on not just spitting verses anymore, right? They're looking at sonic identities. They're looking at making a composite song that has a distinct sonic, arrangement that can be identifiable with their name. Bhanuj, since you've been tracking the journey and you've been part of a documentary that has seen this as well, have you seen that in the past? Say 2 years after the initial euphoria was over? Or do you think we are still riding, this is still the euphoria?
I mean, there's a lot of really interesting music coming out, but if you're looking at the stuff that everybody is sharing and all, it's still riding that wave. Everybody is kind of trying to make the next Mere Gali Mein. And a lot of artists who are not really necessarily from working class backgrounds also jumping onto that bandwagon. But outside of that, outside of what gets like Midday and Mumbai Mirror will write every few months about, there is a lot of very interesting stuff happening. I'm quite excited that there is now also interesting English language rap that's emerging, because I think like pendulum kind of swung the other way, where people who were rapping in English suddenly just dropped it and started saying Bachi Bantai as well. So, but there is interesting English rap happening. There's people who are experimenting with form. There's Tiernas who's doing stuff where he's not just rapping in English, but he's putting in R&B stuff. He's putting in other sorts of music. Smokey the Ghost came out with an album where the production is kind of like very like alt rocky as well in certain spaces. So there's a lot more experimentation happening in terms of sound, in terms of styles, and in terms of what lyrical content is happening. Unfortunately, everybody is only looking at, well, what at gully rap, or whatever analogs of gully rap are there.
Absolutely. And what, Karan, if you can give me a sense of what exactly is happening within, within groups and crews and collectives, like, is there a focused need to, यार हमको अपना ही sound यहाँ पे करना है, हमारा जो authenticity है उसको retain कर रहा है, कि मेरे गली में हो गया hit लेकिन अपन को वो नहीं बनना है. Is that sort of, is that an aspiration?
That is again perception, I would say. Because now what I see, like I as an audience, what I see and what is appealing to me, that would be the first thing that I would do. Now, when Merry Gully was kicked off, before that also there was too many tracks, like too many hip-hop tracks which were... So those tracks, they did have some kind of fan following and things like that. However, when Merry Gully was dropped, at that point of time, everyone thought, why my songs are not like this? And everyone is in a race that, I want to make same what he is doing. Now, in that, you're losing your originality. Now, every artist, like everyone who takes a decision that, I want to be an artist, I want to be he has his own identity. You're losing that identity to just become someone else. Now, now what happens is, if you talk about collectives, individual artists, and so everyone, they have some of the other, goals or ambitions that they have already, they have made up. Like, it was happening from a very long time. Suddenly there is a song which changes the perception of people. Suddenly they have to change everything. So it is a change of perception and change of many things that people have to do. So suddenly, people started rapping in their mother tongue. Because what I feel is, even India can give best English rappers. And we can also, be in competition, or not competition, you can say, in the same stage where international artist is performing. Right. But then who is giving that opportunity to us? Right. No one is giving that belief, or no one has that belief in us so that we can go and crack it. Right. So that is the only thing I would say, like, which is missing in our Indian hip-hop.
Right. The point about perception and how rap is perceived, hip-hop in Bombay is perceived. I know it's not just a perception, but it's also the truth that it is a boys-only club. I see Deepa right in front of me here. And can we have a big round of applause for DMC? Do you want to say a big hi, Deepa? One of the few. She, of course, I know I get goosebumps whenever I see, such flag bearers of a small community repping such a big scene. Deepa is one of the few women rappers who have, who have consistently been in the scene for very long. Also, one of the few people जिनके नाम ध्यान में आते हैं जब हम लोग women rappers या girl rappers की बात करते हैं बहुत सारे नाम नहीं आते. अभी हम जब मिले थे when we came, they were like, a flurry of these baggy pant wearing and goggles donning people, but I didn't see any woman, right? Naman, the documentary doesn't show any, women rappers. ना वहाँ पे दीपा है, ना मनमीत है, कोई भी नहीं है. और दीपा ने तो बात भी करी है मतलब अपने रैप में कि it is misogynist, the scene is, and we are all products of patriarchy. आपने इसलिए नहीं women rappers को डाला क्योंकि आपको लगा कि ये tokenism होगा, or what was your
I guess there's
idea?
two ways to look at it. Well, one, the tokenism thing. If it doesn't fit into your story, then if you're putting it, then you're not being true to yourself and your story. And then that becomes tokenism, which is definitely something I don't want to be doing. The other thing is, as I mentioned, a bunch of focus groups that we sort of ran with all the boys, asking them what the historical sort of arc was, and we were literally looking at gully rap, not even Bombay rap, right? Not one of them at one point brought up any women who have sort of been part of like battle rap community, or who you could see getting popular or were doing features on any songs, barring maybe, as you said, the few handful names that often come to mind. Right. So in being able to trace the journey and to stay true to that, if there are no women, well, I mean, not to say there are none, there are, but in the initial history of it, that again would be a result of tokenism, and that's again not being true to your story.
Right. So you're saying that it didn't fit into the narrative and these people
Yeah,
didn't qualify as
certainly.
people who should be
Certainly.
representing the Bombay rap
Yeah.
scene. My interest would be in understanding what impedes women's participation, and I would have loved to have, Deepa quickly probably, elucidate on that and elaborate. Deepa, you want to quickly come? I really want to hear from her. What is it that impedes? I don't usually often do that, but I think we need Deepa to probably tell us what impedes, women rappers from participating in the scene? And do you think that his claim that, you're not maybe a gully rapper is
I get it. I actually had this doubt, and I had asked some of the people who were shooting that why am I not a part of this? Because I'm usually everybody does want to know my opinion, but then I thought about what he's saying exactly, that I don't fit into this. I'm not from the gullies. I live in a building. I live in a very normal ass, educated ass, place. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Thank you for saying that.
Even he was saying that everybody comes from a different place, and in a country like India, it's people who belong to cities. They're very privileged. They sometimes don't recognize that. And me being an artist, I feel like I didn't really care about this before. But since I went out of the country twice and saw that people outside India reacting to my music in my own language, it made me realize that it's sort of my responsibility now, being the only female, to talk about things that females would relate to. And coming back to your question, the thing with India is women here lead so many different lives. It's insane. It's kind of not fair to expect them to even know what hip hop is. It's a very, very Western culture. It has just come here. I was lucky because I had internet. I was lucky because I became friends with the best artists who had started out 6 years before me, so I got to learn from them. Being in Mumbai, if I was in any other city, I wouldn't be where I am today. There's no doubt about it. So it's Gully Boy is going to change that. Gully Boy is going to make them see that there's a female. There are so many other males as well. I'm sure the number is only going to increase. And yeah, it's pretty much it.
Thank you so much for adding your bits. I'm so happy that you're here today. And it's a fair point, right? She's saying that she doesn't feel that she's representing a scene that you're chronicling there as well. I'm sorry, I didn't ask you, Kevin, before. This is an hour-long discussion, or this is... Okay, we'll go on and on and on. I know we will. And before we get that, and you derail me and you distract me, I thought I'd ask this. But of course, I'm sure we're going to have some questions as well. Okay, perfect. I'm not going to, because he said 10, so of course I have like more time to ask you more things. Yeah. I think the question that is on the top of our minds is, what is the way forward? Are people going to be more scared of, gully rap being co-opted? या फिर duplication बहुत होगा? सब लोग सेम दिखने लगेंगे, women आएंगी कि नहीं आएंगी, तो क्या सीन है आगे?
Okay, being immersed in this conversation for a while, there are a few things I think that's going to happen. 2019 is definitely going to be the year Mass India discovers Excel Entertainment's understanding of hip hop. I won't say what. Not to say it could, most likely it will be a greatly successful movie that will tell the love story of a rapper, I'm certain. It will, but the music will be great because a lot of these guys have put their music into the soundtrack of the film, which is going to be excellent. So 2019, I guess is going to be like that sort of thing. In terms of otherwise, another discussion we often had while researching the film was that there are more brand sponsors in hip-hop than there are songs. And that's definitely changing. And in fact, in the last 6 months itself, there's been so many releases. In fact, from Karan's 3 crews that he manages, there are like some 6 to 8 songs that are sort of, or maybe more or less, in that zone that have come out. I just find that the hip-hop scene found too many brand sponsors before it found its feet. Like, say everyone from a Puma to a Bira just wanted to capitalize on it. But I find that a lot of these sponsors don't enable the music to grow, but they enable the scene to grow. In the sense, sponsorship should come in such forms that it also enables the art to grow, not just the lifestyle that associates with it.
Absolutely.
So that's one thing. And I find that, as it also says towards the end of the film, that I guess rap, well, this chronicles Gully rap, which is specifically Bombay. But once that movie releases, it's going to be pan-India. Everyone knows what Ranveer Singh looks like, and everyone's going to be wearing snapbacks. And there's going to be, hopefully, 100 more rappers, of which hopefully 90 will be damn good. So,
With exposure.
and of course, favorite word that's thrown around to rappers is like, आपको exposure तो
आपको
मिलेगा ही.
exposure
Exposure
पैसे का
मिलेगा,
पता नहीं,
खूब सारा.
exposure तो मिलेगा ही.
अच्छा करण, आपके आर्टिस्ट को एक्सपोजर मिलता है काफी ब्रांड्स के साथ. आपने बात करी that you know so many of your songs are funded by brands
But
and all.
the only thing they have for me is exposure.
So
The only thing, yes, seriously.
no money, only exposure. Is that how it is?
Exposure. They feel like, exposure is something which can change our life. And suddenly from Dharavi, we can be in Denmark or in USA. So that is how exactly, they treat us. Now, the most important problem is, when we say we do ghetto rap, they understand it as poor rap. मतलब हम लोग गरीब है और हम लोग रैप कर रहे हैं. मतलब they don't know the difference, or I don't understand, like ghetto का मतलब उन लोगों को poor लगता है. So we say ghetto, they listen poor. So that's how, that's the only reason why they have for us is exposure, because exposure से ज़्यादा इन लोगों को क्या चाहिए? एक बार exposure मिल जाएगा तो इन लोगों को आगे पैसा देने वाले भी लोग मिल जाएंगे. So that's how it is. So it's not only once or twice. It's been happening from years now. I hope it would change after how Naman said and Bhanuj said, after a few movies that's gonna release, and that would at least cut this word exposure, because everyone has got exposure, because the entire, I believe the Mumbai hip hop is in this movie, and they would not require any more exposure because Zoya Akhtar has already done that job. Now it's like whoever wants to proceed further, they should have something else to offer.
Right. So maybe you can elaborate on the fact जैसे उन्होंने बोला ना कि exposure and which is the biggest paradox here कि brands आपको, I remember from the hip hop homeland gig that happened at that anti-social कि there was a serpentine queue of people wanting to get in. पता नहीं कितने लोग आए थे, शायद 500-600, और जो लोग perform कर रहे थे ना उनको भी entry नहीं मिल रही थी.
गली को तो अंदर जाने नहीं दिया ना.
So it was like that's the biggest paradox, the biggest, what do you call it in Hindi, vidambana of the whole situation, that people who are part of the scene are not getting entry. तो क्या होता है Karan and Bhanuj, okay, I'm going to ask both of you all कि आपको एक वो nod भी मिल रहा है, pat भी मिल रहा है from the brand and from people who are supposed to be enablers, but it's not a real, I don't know, a real liberation of sorts.
So, where I come from on this, right? Screw brands, don't trust them, take their money and then screw them over. Because they're looking to screw you over as much as possible. There are a handful of brands that actually engage. Red Bull is one of the few, but don't trust brands, because we've seen it 7-8 years ago. Every brand was, we love Indian rock, we're going to make it the biggest thing in the world, we're going to get you to Glastonbury. 3 years later, we love DJs, it's the best thing in the world, we're going to take you to Glastonbury. And it's going to happen here. So don't trust brands. Take their money, but always read the fine print, always read the contracts. And remember, you can push back. Brands want you because you've got something. I feel like as a creative artist, you tend to think, kuch to de rahe hain, let me just take it. Push back, ask for what you want. Beyond that, I think clubs in general are slowly getting over the idea that we need to keep the fans of this music out while we got the performers performing inside. They're slowly learning. That is going to change. But just to answer the original question of where I think the future is, I think one thing we don't have is albums. Where are the albums, guys?
Also, where are the
Because
venues?
singles are great, but if you want to make a creative statement, you need an EP or an album. You need to make a cohesive body of work, because that's where you start to really explore relationship. As a fan, that's where you really start to explore your relationship with the artist. Because singles need to be hits, they need to be catchy, they need to be whatever, and that's great, but that can't be your entirety of output. I'm hoping that we get more albums, because that is where people are going to explore their sound. An album allows you to experiment. I think that's where we're going to start seeing really innovative unique Indian sounds coming out, and I don't mean it needs to have a tabla, but Indian as in it the sound that only come from here and that speaks to people who are here. And for that, I think people need to start experimenting more and be more creative and put out albums so that I can review them. Yeah.
I mean, and also because when 2018 music videos, because content is the bad C word in today's day and age. So content is actually गाने album तो है ही, but video नहीं होगा तो I think in 2018
No,
you
and
can't be.
the biggest problem is if your videos don't have million views, you're no one.
Yeah, basically. तुम्हें viral होना जरूरी है.
Plus, everything is like today, nowadays, it has been pushed, and people don't know about it. Like, how the marketing has been done, how the PR team works. So, even it took time for me to understand. By the time I could have understood, people have taken those things and away from us. So, the biggest problem is, people don't know when they sign a contract, they don't know what is written in it.
Right.
And when you're fighting for it, labels or so-called whatever it is, they will say like, you had all the liberty to play with us. You didn't do it. That is your problem. Because you didn't know your contracts. That is the only reason you couldn't play with us. That's mean they knew their contract and they were playing with us. So that's the only thing, which is keeping back all the people, all the artists, because they don't know if they go to any label, what is going to happen with them.
Right.
Because even big names in Mumbai who have been associated with labels, you know what they are doing in the shows right now.
Okay, that'll be topic for the next discussion, guys. Thank you so much for your participation. So 3 big takeaways, if I may just summarize quickly: find your sonic identity, create great music, make albums, fuck labels sometimes make use of them, take their money and brands,
make a new-
and of course find spaces where there is diversity, where there is gender parity, where there is true nurturing of the art. And thank you so much.